I've always been drawn to autumn festivals. When I was 9 years old, the Harvest Fair was the highlight of my entire year. The weeks before, it were spent choosing my costume, and more than anything else, helping prepare our front garden. My mom was just as passionate about it. She'd collect all sorts of decorations, artificial moss, enormous plastic bats, glowing skulls you could position in the flower beds, and even a smoke projector. That particular year, my two neighborhood friends, Danny and Marcus, were lending us a hand. Danny was 15, so he was the responsible older kid who could handle the tall ladder work. Marcus was 13, just slightly older than me. We were all having a blast in the front garden, competing to make our place look like the most frightening house on the entire street. My mom was assembling an eerie witch figure near the front steps, and I was draping artificial moss across the hedges with Marcus. Danny was balanced on a stepladder, securing a fabric phantom to a large maple tree close to the curb. That's when I noticed him for the first time. A stranger I'd never encountered before was making his way down our street, and he came to a complete stop directly in front of our property. He wasn't exercising or walking any pets. He simply stopped and observed us. He appeared utterly unremarkable, possibly in his early 40s, dressed in a basic windbreaker and khakis. The only peculiar detail was his expression. It was broad, but it seemed forced rather than genuine. He stared directly at me and remarked, "That looks fantastic. You're really preparing for the celebration." I was an outgoing child, so I returned his smile. "Yeah, we want to have the scariest display," I replied. "I'm certain you'll collect plenty of treats," he said, his gaze moving across all our decorations. "Are you planning to go door to door in this area? Which streets are you covering?" The inquiry felt slightly unusual, but I didn't dwell on it. Before I could respond, my mom approached from the porch. She placed her hand on my shoulder and positioned herself between the stranger and me. I felt her grip tighten slightly. "Is there something I can do for you?" my mom asked. Her tone was polite but guarded. The man's expression flickered momentarily. "Just appreciating your setup. Your kid's quite the decorator." He glanced back at me. "Hope you get all the king-size chocolate bars, kiddo." "Time to come inside, sweetheart," my mom said to me, keeping her eyes fixed on the stranger. I obeyed and headed toward our entrance. As I looked over my shoulder, I noticed the man's demeanor shift completely. The artificial smile had vanished entirely. He had this icy, almost hostile expression on his face. He locked eyes with my mom for a moment, then pivoted and continued down the street without another sound. Several nights afterward, I was startled awake by a loud crash from our front garden. It sounded like something substantial had toppled over. My bedroom was upstairs, and my window overlooked the street and our lawn. I was frightened, but my inquisitiveness won out. I slipped out of bed and peered through the curtains. The street lamps created long, unsettling shadows everywhere. And positioned right in the center of our lawn was that same stranger. He was just standing there, partially concealed by the large maple tree. The noise I'd heard must have been him knocking over the witch figure my mom had assembled. It was now lying sideways on the grass. He wasn't moving, just staring at our house. He was gazing up at the windows, and I felt certain he was looking straight at mine. I jerked backward, and my pulse started racing. I rushed out of my room and downstairs to the den where my mom was reading. "Mom, that man is in our yard," I said urgently. She immediately stood up and went to the front entrance. She opened it and stepped outside. I watched from the doorway as she surveyed the entire lawn. After about a minute, she returned inside and secured the lock behind her. "There's nobody there," she said, though she appeared concerned. "The witch fell over, that's what you heard. The wind probably knocked it down, but I was certain it wasn't the wind." The following day was October 31st, the Harvest Festival. I was still somewhat rattled, but the anticipation of collecting candy took over. After classes, Danny and Marcus came over. We put on our costumes. I was dressed as a pirate, Danny as a zombie, and Marcus as a skeleton. As soon as darkness began to fall, we grabbed our collection bags and set out. We remained in our neighborhood initially, but we had this notion that the houses in the newer development gave out superior candy. So we just kept walking, block after block, until I could barely recognize where we were. Our bags were becoming heavy with treats, and we felt accomplished. We were approaching a dim house with a single jack-o'-lantern on the steps when we heard someone call out from the darkness across the road. "Hey kids, over here. I've got the premium stuff." We all turned around. Standing in the driveway of a house with all its lights off was the stranger. He was holding a large bowl, and he took a step in our direction. That same artificial wide smile on his face. "Come on over, don't be timid," he said, his voice attempting to sound welcoming. Marcus and I took a step forward. After all, who refuses more candy? But Danny grabbed both our arms firmly. "No," he said, his voice trembling slightly. "Stop, we're leaving now." Danny was older and could sense that something was seriously off. The stranger noticed our hesitation, and his smile disappeared once more. He released the bowl. It clattered empty on the pavement, and started walking toward us, much more rapidly this time. "Run!" Danny shouted. We didn't need any further encouragement. We spun around and sprinted as fast as our legs would carry us. I could hear his footsteps hammering on the asphalt behind us, growing closer. We were all yelling. Marcus, who had always been the quickest, darted between two houses and vanished into a shadowy backyard. Danny was faster than me and was pulling ahead. I risked a glance backward. The stranger was focused entirely on me. He wasn't even pursuing the others. His face was filled with a frightening fury. I was tiring, and my pirate costume felt cumbersome. He was right behind me. I could hear his labored breathing. His hand reached out and grabbed the back of my costume. I thought it was finished. "Get away from my daughter." It was my mom's voice. She came running out from a side street, her face pale with terror and rage. The stranger released me instantly, so abruptly that I stumbled to the ground. He looked at my mom, then back at me, and without uttering a word, he turned and raced away into the darkness. My mom rushed to me and pulled me into an embrace. Moments later, Danny returned, and Marcus emerged from behind a fence. We were all in tears. During the walk back home, my mom held my hand so tightly it nearly hurt. She explained that she'd grown worried when we hadn't returned by the time she'd specified. She had called Danny's house, but he wasn't there either. Panicked, she got in the car to search for us. She'd stopped to ask one of our neighbors if they'd spotted us, and thankfully, they told her they'd seen 3 kids in our costumes heading toward that particular section of town. If they hadn't, I don't know what would have occurred. We never encountered that stranger again, but I've never forgotten his face. Last autumn was meant to be enjoyable, but it became something I'll never be able to shake. My name is Chris, and I'm 18. I live in a peaceful suburb outside of Portland, in a neighborhood where everyone is acquainted. That evening, our neighbor, Mrs. Henderson, was hosting a small gathering. She's an elderly woman, widowed, and she invited several people over for refreshments and card games. I attended because my parents approved, and I didn't have major plans yet. That's where I encountered Tyler. He mentioned he was 20 and a guest of Mrs. Henderson, some distant nephew or something similar. He seemed likable immediately, average height, with dark blonde hair, wearing a simple pullover and khakis. We began discussing video games. He was into Apex Legends, same as me. We played a quick match on Mrs. Henderson's dated console, joking about missed shots and lag. He told me he lived several towns away, but visited Mrs. Henderson occasionally. We swapped phone numbers, and he seemed like the type of person who'd make a solid friend. My dad had been reminding me about getting a wreath for our front door. Mom was occupied at her sister's house helping with some renovation project. She works in real estate, always coordinating something. So Dad instructed me to take care of it. I mentioned it to Tyler, and he smiled. "Hey, I know an excellent place. There's this craft market out on Highway 22, about 30 minutes away. They have handmade wreaths, reasonably priced too. Want to go?" I figured, why not? It was still early evening, around 7 p.m., and Halloween wasn't finished yet. I had my dad's old Jeep, so we climbed in and drove off. The route got darker as we departed the suburbs. No street lamps out there, just farmland and forests. Mist started rolling in, dense like in those classic films, making it difficult to see beyond 15 feet ahead. My headlights barely penetrated it. We chatted about college, me still deciding on universities, him saying he was working at a warehouse before starting community college. Finally, we arrived at the market. It was this rundown location with a wooden placard that read Anderson's Craft Market. But there were no lights on, no vehicles, no people, just tables of merchandise under a covered pavilion, half obscured by the mist. "Where is everyone?" I asked, feeling somewhat uneasy. Tyler shrugged. "Probably packing up for the night. Wait here, I'll check the back office." He exited and disappeared into the fog. I sat in the Jeep, scrolling on my phone, but the reception was terrible. Minutes dragged on, 5, then 10. I began to worry. What if something happened to him? Then he returned, but not by himself. There was this person with him, maybe in their mid-50s, wearing a work vest and a plaid shirt like a typical vendor. His face was ordinary, clean-shaven, hazel eyes, but something felt wrong. His smile was too broad, like he was forcing it. "Hey there, young man," he said to me. "Tyler here says you need a wreath. Come on into the storage shed. I've got the premium ones inside." Inside the shed was this old metal building behind the pavilion, doors creaking in the wind. Tyler nodded. "Yeah, Chris, let's check it out. He says the custom ones are stored there." But the vendor started asking strange questions immediately. "You live nearby? What's your family's last name? Got any brothers or sisters? What does your dad do?" It wasn't casual conversation. It felt like he was interrogating me. "And why inside?" The wreaths were right there on the tables. I glanced at Tyler, but he just stood there, hands in his pockets, watching me. The fog made everything blurry, and I swear I heard a door slam somewhere in the distance, like from the main building next to the shed. Were there more people? My instinct twisted. They were both staring at me now, waiting. "Come on, it's just inside," the vendor said again, his voice slightly sharper. No way, I thought. I stayed by the Jeep. Actually, my dad's calling me. He's waiting and I need to get back soon. Can we just grab one from out here?" I pulled out my phone like I was checking a message, even though there was no signal. Tyler looked at the vendor and for a second, their eyes met in a way that made my skin crawl, like they were sharing some understanding. But the vendor shrugged. "Sure, kid, take your pick." We grabbed a decent wreath from the edge of the tables. I paid him cash and we drove off. The entire ride back, Tyler was silent, not like before. I dropped him off at Mrs. Henderson's and went home. Hanging the wreath with Dad, I tried to dismiss it, but that market stuck in my mind. Later that night, we threw a small gathering at my house. Just me and a few high school friends, about 7 of us total. Pizza, soft drinks, streaming a horror series. I invited Tyler too, since he seemed cool earlier. He showed up around 9 p.m., fitting in fine. We played some card games, shared silly, scary stories. Everyone was relaxed. Then Tyler's phone vibrated. He glanced at it and slipped outside without saying much. "Be right back," he muttered. 5 minutes later, the doorbell rang. I opened it, thinking it was a straggling trick-or-treater. But this person pushed inside, tall, wearing a dark hoodie and what appeared to be a realistic latex face covering, like those professional movie masks you see online. It was unsettling. The eyes were hollow, the mouth frozen in a neutral expression. This was a private gathering, and no costumes were required except maybe a hat or something casual. "Who are you?" I asked, blocking his path. He didn't respond, just stood there. My friends noticed, and a couple came over, Alex and Rachel. "Dude, this is invite only. You know someone here?" Still nothing. Then he reached into his hoodie and pulled out a firearm. A real one, black and substantial looking, like a pistol. He aimed it right at us. Everyone. Wallets, phones, jewelry. "Now, put it in this bag." He tossed a canvas bag on the floor. Panic struck. My heart pounded so violently I thought it would burst. We all froze, then started handing over items. My smartphone, Rachel's bracelet, Alex's smartwatch. The person moved quickly, gesturing with the gun. I glanced at Tyler. He was in the corner, placing his wallet into the bag like everyone else, but he wasn't scared. No wide eyes, no trembling. He looked composed, like he'd rehearsed this before. The robber even took Tyler's belongings, but it felt staged. The person grabbed the bag and backed out the door, vanishing into the night. We locked up and called 911. Police arrived quickly. 2 officers, flashing lights alerting the neighborhood. We told them everything. They reviewed our security camera footage, the one Dad installed last summer for safety. On the recording, clear as anything. When Tyler went outside for his call, he met the same person, the one in the mask, but without it on yet. They conversed for a moment, heads close. Then the person waited while Tyler returned inside. It was coordinated. Police arrested Tyler right there. He didn't resist much. At the station, they interrogated him. Turns out Tyler confessed. The vendor at the craft market was his uncle, some guy named Roger with a criminal history for burglary. They'd been running schemes, targeting teenagers like me, scouting out residences through connections like Tyler. That market trip was to gather information on my family, assess if we had valuables. The weird questions were part of it. They wanted me inside the storage shed to maybe steal my keys or phone, but I avoided that. The gathering robbery was the primary plan. Tyler provided them details. Police raided the market. It wasn't even a real craft business anymore, just a front. They found our items hidden in the shed, plus more from other thefts. Roger had the firearm, unregistered and loaded. They arrested him too. We got everything back, but it didn't erase the fear. Now I double-check locks, avoid new acquaintances. Mrs. Henderson had no clue Tyler was involved in crime, She felt terrible. That Halloween taught me sometimes the most frightening things aren't supernatural. They're people you think you trust. If I'd gone inside that storage shed, who knows what would have occurred? I still get chills thinking about it. When I was young, around 12 years old, my family would drive out to visit my grandparents every major holiday. They lived in this quiet little community in rural Pennsylvania. The kind of place where everyone knows everyone else's affairs, but nobody really discusses the strange occurrences. We didn't live there. We were about 3 hours away in the suburbs. But Thanksgiving, Christmas, and 4th of July all meant packing up the car and heading out. My grandparents' house was on a cul-de-sac. Nothing fancy, just a row of old brick homes with large lawns. My uncle and aunt lived 3 houses down from them. They had my younger cousin, who was just a preschooler at the time. To get between the 2 houses, you'd walk along this cracked pavement past one house in the middle. That was where she lived, the strange woman. I don't even know her actual name. We just called her the woman, or sometimes the rope lady behind her back. She was imposing, over 6 feet tall, and built like a construction worker. She always wore these heavy nautical ropes around her shoulders, like the kind sailors use for mooring boats. They'd scrape and rustle when she moved. On top of that, she'd wear these stained old coveralls that looked like they were from the 1960s and large work boots covered in dried clay. Her hair was unkempt, silver, and matted like she never combed it. The only times I ever saw her outside were when she was in her backyard garden or washing the exterior of her house. Yeah, washing the actual structure. She'd get a bucket of soapy water, a hard brush, and just scrub at the brick like it was covered in invisible grime. She did this constantly, even during drizzle sometimes. It was bizarre. And if she spotted us kids playing nearby, she'd start shouting, "You little pests, judgment is coming for you. You'll all burn." Stuff like that. Her voice was deep and raspy, like she'd been yelling for decades. It terrified me and my cousins. The adults always told us to leave her alone. "She's just elderly and isolated," my dad would say. "Don't provoke her, and she won't provoke you." But we knew better. Whenever we had to go from my grandparents to my uncle's, maybe to deliver something or play with the cousin, we'd sprint the entire way. Her house had these large windows facing the street, and you'd see her silhouette there, just watching. Curtains half closed, her face pressed near the glass. We never went alone, always in pairs or groups. One time, my older cousin claimed she whispered something about cleansing the wicked as we rushed by. We laughed it off later, but it haunted me. That Halloween, I was about 12. We were all at my grandparents' for a family dinner. Me and my 2 cousins, Ben, who was 14, and Emma, who was 10, and a couple of local kids. We dressed up. I was a cowboy in a vest with toy guns. Nothing elaborate. After dinner, we headed out to collect candy. The street was dim. No street lamps, just porch lights scattered here and there. As we walked, Ben got this mischievous look on his face. "Hey, I dare you guys to go to the rope lady's house." We all froze. Nobody ever went there. Her porch light wasn't even on, but Ben kept pushing. "Come on, don't be cowards, we're in a group. What's she going to do?" I didn't want to seem weak, especially in front of Ben. My heart was racing, but I agreed. We crept up her walkway, leaves crunching under our feet. The house smelled damp, like wet soil. Her garden beds in the back were raised high, piled with fresh clay that she must have just added. One of us, I think Emma, reached up and pressed the doorbell. Nothing at first. Then bang. Loud crashes from inside like furniture being shoved. Heavy thumps. We almost ran right then. The door groaned open slowly. There she was, towering over us, ropes draped across her shoulders, coveralls stained with what looked like mud. In her hands, oh God, she was holding a severed head. It was dripping something dark, and the eyes were glassy, the mouth hanging open. The skin looked real, pale and lined. We screamed, all of us, and ran like our lives depended on it back to my grandparents. I tripped on the pavement, skinned my elbow, but didn't stop. When we burst in, panting and sobbing, the adults laughed it off. "It's just a Halloween decoration," my mom said. "You kids shouldn't have bothered her. Serves you right for getting spooked." They calmed us down with candy, but I couldn't shake it. That head didn't look artificial. About 6 weeks later, it was right after Christmas. We were back home in the suburbs when the phone rang late at night. I was in bed, but I heard my parents talking in hushed, urgent voices. Mom was crying softly. The next morning, they sat me down. "Something happened at your uncle's," Dad said carefully. "The woman next door attacked her." It turned out my aunt was bringing in groceries from the car, holding my little cousin in one arm. It was twilight, getting dark. She didn't hear anything until it was too late. The woman snuck up behind her with one of those hand saws. You know, the kind with a serrated blade and wooden handle, like for cutting logs. She pressed it against my aunt's throat and started sawing back and forth. My aunt panicked, dropped the bags, and started kicking at her own front door while screaming. The blade bit into her skin, blood pouring. My uncle heard the commotion from inside, grabbed a metal baseball bat from the closet, and came running out. He swung it hard, hitting the woman in the shoulders and head until she collapsed and let go. The police showed up quickly, ambulance too. My aunt was rushed to the hospital. She had a deep laceration across her throat, needed stitches and reconstructive surgery to repair the damage. She survived, thank God, but she's got this long, jagged scar now, like a dark line from one side to the other. She covers it with turtlenecks sometimes, but that wasn't the end. The cops arrested the woman and searched her house. What they discovered was insane. She'd been excavating tunnels under her property, not just shallow ones, deep, reinforced with metal beams like old bunker passages. They snaked out from her basement and emerged under my uncle's house, my grandparents', and even the neighbor on the other side. That's why she was always in her garden. She'd haul the dirt up in containers at night and dump it into those raised beds, hiding it in plain sight. The gardens were overflowing with clay, but nobody questioned it. Down in the tunnels, they found her shrine. It was this earthen chamber, with candles melted into the walls, religious symbols carved everywhere, crosses inverted, strange drawings of flames and ropes, and surrounding it, severed heads. Real ones. 4 of them, preserved somehow, like in mason jars or wrapped in plastic sheeting. The police said they were from missing people, transients or hitchhikers she'd encountered over the years. She'd been living like this for decades, quietly losing her sanity. No family, no friends, just her ropes and her secrets. Turns out that Halloween head wasn't a decoration. It was one of them. Recent, maybe. The cops matched it to a man who'd gone missing 2 weeks before. We could have been next if we'd lingered. After that, the house got demolished. Tunnels filled in. My uncle and aunt relocated. They couldn't stand being there. Grandparents stayed but installed security systems. I don't visit as much anymore, but sometimes at night I think about her watching from those windows, and I wonder how many other strange neighbors are out there, hiding tunnels and worse. It makes you reconsider who lives next door.